Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. I'm super excited about today's episode. I have my friend, Cristy Harfmann, back on the show for a part 2. She is the blogger creator behind the Happy Family blog, and she was on, I think in December, sharing about how she lost her big Instagram page. Well, since then, I have been working one-on-one with her to help her set up her first paid workshop. And here she is to tell the story. So she's using our new payment platform, MiloTree Easy Payments, which is the easiest way for creators to get paid for workshops, memberships, services, coaching, and soon downloads. Anything digital that you can sell directly to your audience. You can check it out by going to milotree.com/easypayments. I think this is going to be a game changer for so many of you. So without further ado, here is my interview with Cristy Harfmann. Cristy, welcome back to the show.
It is so good to see you. I miss you when I don't get the chance to hang with you. You are just the absolute greatest gift.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
I feel the same way. So I have to catch everybody up. Cristy, you were on my episode I released in early January. You lost your Instagram account. It was traumatic. We went through the whole story. And at the end of it, you were sharing how you needed to find other income streams where you were not so dependent on your very large Instagram page, which is close to 70,000 followers. You had shared that you monetize predominantly working with brands and they want a presence on Instagram.
100%. And that was a very scary day. And I feel like I went to therapy with you in that session. And we've helped a number of bloggers have reached out to say thank you for sharing and have used the links that we shared with them. But yeah, no, I mean, I was like, wow, that was really, really eye-opening. The 7 streams of income are so important. And I was lying to myself, saying like, oh, stories is a stream, Instagram itself is a stream. Like those aren't streams. That's all one. And so, yeah, so I was like, what shall one do?
So I said to you, it was funny. So in the podcast episode, just randomly, we're building out MiloTree Easy Payments. And I said, you've got a lot of knowledge about working with brands. Chances are you could teach that knowledge. And you were like, yeah, that sounds good. But then, life moved on. And on my end, I'm trying to find people to work with to really test out, like kick the tires on our product to make sure it's working well and that our customers understand it. And I reached out to you and I said, hey, I will help you get up a paid workshop really quickly. And you could, and we could do this. And you said, yes. So will you share what this experience has been like for you?
Of course. So I have to say, it was on my list after you and I met. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a masterclass on how to work with brands. I started talking to friends. They were interested. And then it just sat on my to-do list. And it probably would have sat on my to-do list for maybe a year if you hadn't reached out, because it sounded so overwhelming. And I started to get like caught up in life and making myself anxious about it. And so when you sat down with me and said, all right, let's just answer, you had a great worksheet that said, let's just answer these questions, right? Like, what do you want to call the workshop? What value do we want to be giving to people? I was like, oh my gosh. And you and I just talked about imposter syndrome before we started recording. And I mean, I certainly have it. And I was reading a blog post from someone else who is like a big deal in our industry. And she was saying, if you don't have it, then you're lying to yourself. And I think that that's so true. Because yes, I have supported my family for the last couple of years with my blog, and I have built out, a following of over 100,000. I know how to work with brands. And I think sitting down with you and going through that process and then going to my Instagram community and saying, who wants this? I didn't know if my Instagram community had potential bloggers or bloggers who were just starting out. I know that I have a lot of my friends who are bloggers who do great brand work, but they came and they were excited. And I was so nervous that it was going to be, I love though, you said to me, do not start building this course, this masterclass out until you have people who have signed up. And so when I got my first sign up, I was like, oh, now I get to work on it. And then you provided this super, super easy template for me to create the masterclass that literally said like, insert your information here and here and here. And it made it so easy to go step by step by step. that before I knew it, there were tons of people signed up, and like the day was coming and it came and it was so good. And we were just saying, like, it totally reinvigorated me for my business because people asked questions and I remembered what it was like just starting out and feeling like this is a mystery, right? Like people don't want to share. And even my husband, when I was practicing with him, he was like, are you going to share all the secrets? Like, what about competitors? And I'm like, I really truly believe that rising tide lifts all boats. And I want as many influencers or content creators, whatever term you want to call yourself, to be good at this, because every time they have a good interaction with a content creator from a brand perspective, it means that they want to work with more of us. And so if they're going out and they're meeting a content creator who is not good at this, they may get a sour taste in their mouth. So I want to educate as many people as possible. This is what the process looks like. It doesn't need to be a mystery. It's not rocket science, but there are a lot of strategic steps for you to be really, really successful in this. And what I realized by writing it down on paper, one of the things that we talked about was really the 6 different ways that brands work with you. So it was so nice to be able to educate people on all of those pieces.
All right, so let's back up for 1 second. Okay,
Yes.
So your blog, your audience is predominantly moms who are looking for tips, recipes, kind of life hacks, that kind of thing, parenting.
Exactly.
And so you were concerned, like in my audience, are there bloggers? Are there people who would want to learn from me how to work with brands? Like that is pretty specific to bloggers and creators.
100%.
So,
and then people who I didn't even know. So like my best friend from childhood joined, and I thought she was joining just to be kind and thoughtful, but she joined because she's an author and she's just starting out as a content creator and she wants to work with brands. So like people who I didn't even think about because their space is so different than the space that I operate in were so excited to learn because they could partner with brands, just different brands than who I partner with. And so I had a variety of, I had fashion bloggers who were just starting out. I had moms who literally had accounts that they were just sharing because they loved the platform and had never monetized before. I had bloggers who have been really, really focused on organic traffic and been working on their SEO, who have never partnered with brands before, who have unbelievable sites. So there's all these people across the board who were here, I thought, for easy recipes, family fun, and family travel, but really are wanting to be content creators working with brands as well. And I really only advertised on my Instagram stories.
That was my next thing. How did you get the word out? And you did charge for this. You charged
I did $25.
$25 for 1 hour. And then did you do Q&A afterwards? Or was that?
So actually I did Q&A throughout. So I had 3 different sections, and in the middle at the end of each section, I did Q&A. And then that way, my daughter, who's 9, said, Mom, if you wait to the end, people are going to forget their questions. And so I highly recommend, if you do a masterclass, doing it that way. For one, if you're nervous, like I certainly was, it gives you a chance to collect yourself, to take a breath, and then it gives your audience a chance to ask the questions so they don't forget them. And there was really, really great conversation. I wrote a ton of notes because it gave me insight in what was important to them. So things that I talked about the CRM system that I use. There were a ton of questions.
And what is a CRM system? What is a CRM system?
It's called Streak.
Okay, but what does a CRM do?
So a CRM is a customer retention or relationship management tool. And it basically allows you to communicate with your audience in triggered ways. And so be able to know everyone that you've sent an email to, and I actually schedule emails out to different clients. And so they wanted to know about that. So that type of technical piece, I thought we were just going to be talking about how do you connect with brands? How do you find them? What does brand work look like? How do you land a partnership? But a lot of people were really interested in the CRM piece of it. And like, what's the technical, like what does day-to-day look like for you as a content creator?
So I was going to say, so you're just promoting this in Instagram stories. Did you run any ads? We had talked about this.
I did, yes. So I ran an ad, a brand awareness ad in Facebook. And it was interesting. It reached almost 10,000 people. I spent about $150. I made a mistake and I ran it to every single platform that Facebook allows you to. So that's Facebook, Instagram, and then their network partners, which is basically like all the apps that they have access to. I should have only run it to Instagram and Facebook. And so I had the plans to do a retargeting ad after to retarget to the people who had actually watched the video. I got sick, a friend passed away, and so I didn't run that, but I'm running it now. And people were so interested, and a ton of people messaged me after saying, I thought it was next month. I really wanted to sign up. So I'm going to do a second date because people are like, I missed it. I don't want to miss it. And I've done all the work. I loved it. It really reinvigorated me for my business. It was so much fun. And there's a need for it. So I'm going to do another one and be able to help more people figure out this landscape that can be really, really overwhelming if someone doesn't sort of hold your hand and walk you through that process.
How long did it? So we talked about this before. After you did it, you said to me, I could turn this into a course. And I said, no, don't turn it into a course. But that seemed like such a natural thing. But the reason I said this was because courses are hard. You judge yourself differently. The video quality has to be higher. It's just, you will find it is not the same. How long did it take you to put together your 1 hour masterclass on Zoom? And you had a slide deck. I gave you a template and you filled it out. And what I always say is teach 3 high level topics, and like you did, and then you got questions in between the sections. I say, be open for questions and give your people a win. Like that's it. That's the whole formula. So tell me, how long did it take you to set this thing up?
So I stressed about it for about 10 hours. But the actual work, when I sat down with the computer and opened up the presentation template that you sent me, in less than an hour, I put the thing together. And then I went back to it a couple of times. I sent it to you. You gave me some great feedback. I sent it to my husband. But really, the whole thing took me an hour. The hardest part was scaling it back. And that's where I was writing like, oh, we should talk about this. Or like once you start getting excited about it and start to understand this imposter syndrome, right, stops us from believing that our knowledge is like so deep. And I like to say like, oh, brands are difficult to work with. And they're not difficult to work with, but like after 8 years, I have a lot of information and knowledge about image rights and contracts and exclusivity. Like, so when I was working on it, I was like, oh, I should talk to them about. And they're like, no, like I'm going to be talking for 3 hours. And that's where I was like, there's enough work here to be in a course. And like, I want to share it and I want to write it down and I want to know it. But I'm 100% in agreement with you that like after you and I spoke, I said, I think I want to turn this into an ebook. And so you recommended Otter AI. Yes, Otter AI. And I used them and they took my masterclass and then transcribed it for me. And then I took that and I was able to work on the ebook, which I will hopefully have finished soon after a little bit of editing. And I realized, which I just told you before, I say the word so like every fourth sentence, maybe every other sentence. And if I was doing a course, I would have had to re-record the whole thing because I wouldn't have noticed. But because it was live, it was part of who I am. It's part of my personality. It was fine. And so I totally agree with you that like when it's live, people understand. We've all been on live Zooms. Things go wrong. You're not as eloquent as you would be if you were in a course. And so I'm in 100% agreement with you. If I did a course, it would take me forever because I would watch it. I would have my husband watch it and my friends watch it. And then I'd be editing it. And it would sit in this like cycle of do over and do over and do over for months and months and months, where I liked the live, where it was kind of like, I'm here, I'm ready. I'm as ready as I can be, right? And then we're going to go. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. I'm a human. And that was part of the interaction, right? That they got to see that like I'm a real life person who's not perfect. And if I can do well making money with brands, then they can as well, because none of us are perfect.
I love that. Okay, so one thing that I know, so I talked to you afterwards and you were so excited. And what was really cool was I could see the light bulbs going, like turning on above your head, like you were a cartoon character, because you saw the possibilities of what I keep saying, your first workshop, which could be like, it could be a masterclass. It could be like a quick win workshop. Give your audience a win, give them something where they say, yes, like Christy's my girl. She's hooking me up. Like I can move forward on my path to success. And then though, I saw that you understood, it like came into focus for you. Oh, I could build this out with all these different legs to my business. And I could hear you and like, will you share? So you said, I'm going to do it again. So that was like your first thought was, I'm doing it again because I know what I'm doing. People missed the first one. I'm going to run ads differently. Like I'm going to learn. I've already created the presentation. So that was the first thing. But then how else have you been thinking about this?
Yeah. So then I also created a membership, and I have my first person who has already signed up for it. And so it was totally your idea, and I'm so grateful for it. And so in the membership, we're going to talk about from pitching all the way to getting paid. And every month I'm going to have a different topic. We're going to do a live Zoom so that the people in the membership can join me. And then we'll do a second one that's just Q&A. And each time I'm going to give them some homework. I gave them homework this time as well. I gave everybody a pitching guide and then gave that to them as their homework. They sent it back to me. And then I did a personal review. I did a little video and sent it to each person that sent it back to me saying, here's what I would tweak. Here's what I would do differently. Here's what I think you should focus on. And so I have hoped to give everybody homework because I think it's really important, right? We all take so many classes and courses and master classes, and then we don't do anything with the information. So I think it's really great to have somebody holding your hand that says, hey, this is what you were supposed to do. Like, did you do it? And if you didn't do it, I'm going to meet with you in 2 weeks again. And let's make sure you did it, because we all need that little push sometimes to get us to do the things on our to-do list that maybe we don't want to do, or maybe we have other things that are like pushing that back, right?
Or we have our imposter syndrome and it keeps us from doing it.
100%.
The thing that I would say based on talking to you, and again, this speaks to the idea of courses, you loved the interaction. And when you do a course, remember, like I'm going to go spend 6-9 months putting together a course, and then I'm going to figure out, and I have to sell it and launch it, but I'm not participating with the people who are, let's say, going through my course. They're like kind of in a different world than I'm in. Whereas when you show up live, you have that human interaction. So you're feeding off of it, they're feeding off of it, and they were communicating with you.
And they were asking such good questions. And like, it really made me think like I could make a really huge impact in their business because they care. They just need that like missing piece that they haven't been able to find somewhere else, right? Like, how do I actually get a hold of a brand? Like, how do people read my emails? How do I find their emails, right? And so that was a big, big win that we did in the masterclass, was like, this is the first way that I go about finding brands' email addresses. And I gave them homework to do exactly that. And then to tell me what brands they were able to get reached out to. And a couple of them have told me, like, a couple sent me like, this is what I'm going to send. Is this good? And we were able to tweak it together. Other people are like, here are the 7 brands that I've reached out to. I'm like, all right, keep me up to speed. Like, I want to see them be successful, because that's like the greatest win, right? Like, to be able to share our information. I think I've always wanted to be a teacher, but the concept of like going to a university and standing in a classroom when you have 2 children and a husband is very overwhelming. But being able to do it from the privacy of my own office on Zoom is amazing. And it's so easy to reach people. I had people in California, like all across the country. And so if we had done it locally here, I would have missed that.
And what's funny is
to connect with them.
You work with your husband. He helps you.
He does,
reach out to brands. And even one of the people said, I want to work with your husband. I want to hire your husband.
Yes. Which we need. He said he's interested. So yeah, I mean, all these things that I didn't even know that people wanted, right? Like, a lot of us need somebody to pitch, because pitching is not difficult once you have the system in place. It's just time consuming, right? To identify the brands that you want to work with, to figure out who to contact, and then to do the constant follow-up to start the conversations. And that's even just to say, yes, I'm interested. And then once they're interested, there's a whole other series of conversations that needs to happen about deliverables and pricing and all of these. Is there exclusivity? Is there not? I mean, there are so many conversations, but just even the beginning of finding the gatekeeper and how to get in is cumbersome and takes a lot of time. And I was going to hire it out. And so I'm super grateful that my husband was open to me saying, come work with me.
Totally. But he could have now this whole other business that he didn't anticipate.
He totally could. Mm-hmm.
So will you talk to me though, before we press record, you shared this really lovely story about you just landing your biggest brand deal and how that weirdly is tied to you doing this workshop.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's really interesting. So I just landed my biggest deal. It's a 6-month deal for the largest amount of money that I've ever charged a client. And when I was talking to a friend the other day, we were talking about some people and saying, oh, do you know that they charge this amount of money? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a crazy amount of money. And my girlfriend's like, you know, the contract you just signed, it's more than that per post. I'm like, oh, interesting. So I think that this did a couple of things for me. One, it made me realize that I'm really good at this. And I almost needed to be reassured for that, because sometimes you're like, oh gosh, like, are they going to pay that? And then 2, I have other ways to make money besides making money through brand deals. And so it gave me a lot of freedom to say, I'm going to pitch them the number that I think that I deserve. And if it doesn't align with their budget, that's okay. Right? I have time that I need to be working on my membership. I need to be promoting that. I need to be working on the masterclass. I need to finalize the ebook. I've got a lot of other things that are going to be revenue streams for me that I should focus on. And so if this doesn't work, then that's not how I'm supposed to be allocating my time right now. Where in the past, I may have been like, well, I love working with brands because I do. That's where I want to put all of my energy. But now I have all these other potential revenue streams and revenues. Just today, I got another deposit from the master classes, and I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. Like, it goes directly into your bank account, and you're like, hello, how are you? So, I mean, it's another great revenue source that hopefully I'll be able to grow and grow and grow. And then I'm less dependent on brands, which, boy, oh boy, when that pandemic happened, I would have loved to have not been so dependent on
So it's like
brands.
So a couple of things that I'm hearing is that by doing this, and again, doing it kind of B minus, like doing it just like you're going, like you put a date in your count, like talk about that.
Mm-hmm. You were so good about that. You're like, okay, so when are we doing this? And I think putting it on the calendar and then getting on Instagram stories and saying, I'm doing this. I want you guys to hold me accountable. Like I said it to almost 70,000 people, like, I'm doing this. And like, now I had to do it. And
literally,
really, really
I think
helpful.
we gave you what, like you did like, it was 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You put it on the calendar. And what I say is, spend a week freaking out in your head. And then you spend like 2 weeks really promoting it, like a week to see if people will sign up, and do not think about creating the content until I say you've gotten at least 2 people. If 2 people sign up, do it, because you will learn and it's worth your time. And it's not going to take a ton of time to put together, and you're going to wing it. There is a part of like, I'm winging this, I'm showing up, and we'll see what happens. And there's something about like jumping into the fire where who knows, like that's the unknown.
Which is exciting and overwhelming. And one thing that we did that was your recommendation that I really liked is I said, do you want to be put on a list to know when this is opening up? And then the people who said yes, and I added them to like my promotional list for the masterclass, I gave a discount to $5, but still, and said, I want you to have like an early bird special price to make them realize that like giving someone your email address is a lot, right? And I was so grateful that there were people that were saying, yes, like notify me as soon as this is ready. And that helped give me some confidence too, that like, okay, there are people that are really interested in this because they've said, reach out to me when this is ready, because I wasn't sure how to like step, right? Like, do you wait until like everything's done and you have a website, or do you start talking about it? And so I think talking about it before you and I had even finished the landing page was really good, because I could say like, message me or send me your email, start those conversations. And one of the recommendations that you said that I'm going to do this time, instead of just like, I was just dropping the link saying like, want information about my masterclass, click here. You said, ask them to DM you. And so this time I have done that so that I know who's interested. And you can always go back in Instagram stories to look at who's clicked on the links. But I like that a lot of this is a personal relationship and a conversation. And like a couple of friends, I knew that they were interested, but I didn't want to be pushy. And then they're the ones that said, oh my gosh, I missed it, I'm so sad. So I think you're not being pushy. I was listening to someone speak the other day, and they said, we think we're being salesy, but if you're providing value you're serving people, not selling them. And I really love that mindset switch that like, I should have gone back to those friends that I know needed this information because I would have been serving them, not selling them. And it would have been information that would have really added value to them. And so I think that that whole piece of switching from thinking you're selling yourself to really serving your audience is really good.
And I think too, for you, for us with Catch My Party, we've talked about this, there's a distance between your audience and you. Like you're the kind of, it's almost like you're putting out a magazine, it's kind of curated and you're there and you're showing up in your lives, but lots of people are watching your lives who are not interacting with you. It's like it almost feels a little bit sometimes like you're like yelling into the abyss. Like, are people out there? And I think that what for me that was so interesting was when we started, so we have Catch My Party, it's this big site, but it does feel a little bit like a magazine. And then when we started working with bloggers closely, they became my friends. I became invested in their businesses, and it shifted the whole way I saw my own business and I saw what we were providing. So then we came out with our pop-up app, which was for bloggers, but they were like bloggers, like this sea of bloggers. And then they became individual people who I could like watch them on their journey. I could point out to them like, hey, you're doing an awesome job. Or, hey, maybe you could switch this in your business and it might help you. Or, hey, and the personal element. And I will tell you that our membership, for example, got me through the pandemic. Just showing up on Zoom with human faces and not talking, ready for it, not talking about the pandemic, just talking about our businesses. And that bonded us was so deep that for me, what makes me happy every day is like working with you, Christy. It's like creating tools that help you make money, but building that relationship with you. And then seeing your success and like you messaging me going, it was great. And me being like, oh my God. And then saying to David, like, Christy did her workshop and it went really well. Like, what's better for me? And so it's like happiness all around.
And 100%. And I think we need that, right? You and I talked earlier about how like after this pandemic, we're all like a little socially awkward. And I think that these are great opportunities to like have human connection again and have a Zoom that's not just like a wah, 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 right? But like have a Zoom meeting where like people truly get to know you. One of the things that I did opening was ask people to put their information in the chat so they could get to know each other. And a couple of people messaged me after, hey, I didn't write down everyone's information. Could you send out everyone's information who was on the call? Like people are really, really hungry to connect with each other again. And I think I've talked about this a lot. If you are a content creator and you have not found your tribe, which is a word I don't love, but if you haven't found your friends who are also content creators, you're missing this whole world. Like you and I have this connection because we get it. And we get it because our friends who are not in this world will never get it, right? It feels like, oh God, I love that saying that's like, oh, everyone thinks you're lucky, but they didn't see the hard work behind it. Like as a content creator, we're supposed to make things look easy and just like, oh, we just like for me, like we just go on trips. You get to see
I stumbled into my life is a photo shoot.
Exactly. We're like, so I think that having this opportunity to connect with other content creators is so valuable, especially if they're not in your niche. And if they're in your niche, they're going to be the first ones. I have a couple of friends who they are always the first ones who comment on my stuff. They understand how important that is. They give genuine comments because they really do care about me and my business, where like even my best friends don't comment. And it's not because they don't love me.
Right.
It's because they just don't even realize, no matter how many times I'm like, hey, like, share, save, like,
right.
Come on, comment.
They don't know there's an algorithm. They
right?
don't get it.
They don't know that the algorithm runs and ruins your life. So they don't get it. So I think that finding that community and so seeing that people who join this masterclass, like they wanted that, they want this community of other people who are in a similar place to them was really, really interesting, and seeing that they want to connect. And so if you are not connected with other content creators and you are one, even if you're a small one and just starting out, you have to find that group of people because they'll be the ones where I had a couple of friends when I got the deal on Friday who I called. They were the same ones I called when I was pricing it out to say, I'm thinking this, like, am I crazy? Like, those are your friends who like you could call to be like, I'm not trying to be braggy, but oh my goodness gracious, do you know what just happened? And they would do the same for me. And I feel like it's important for a sanity point to have that community and to have these people. Generally for me, it's women, but there are men who are content creators as well. My group of friends happens to be all female, but to have that group. And I think these opportunities to bring people together on one subject really help, because these are all people who care about what you want to teach. And so for me, it was really, really fun to be like, okay, I met new people that I would have never met before. I know something about their business. Like you said, I'm vested in their businesses now.
Totally.
And so they want to support each other.
So if somebody's listening to this and they're going, I don't know, there's this topic maybe I know a little bit about, but I don't know, is this worth it? Is it so much work? What if nobody signs up? I'm busy as it is. I've got a lot of stuff going on. What would you say to them?
I would say you have to do it, right? Like the analysis paralysis is the worst thing that can happen, is you just start like thinking and thinking. You are going to be really disappointed in yourself with the things that you don't try. So it is really, if you could dedicate 10 hours for the entire start to finish of it's done. And then you could find out if you like it. And if you dislike it terribly, then you could say, check, never do that again. Or if you're like me and you loved it, you could then say, hey, let me use this software to write an ebook, and let me host another one, and let me start a membership, and let me find a new way to connect with my followers and to support other businesses. Because to me, that's going to be the coolest part of the end of this. Like, I can't wait for when one of the women who came to my masterclass calls me and says, like, I landed my first brand deal, or I landed my biggest brand deal ever because I used the strategies that you talked about. Like, that's going to mean so much to me, because that means that another family is being impacted by like the knowledge that you have. I think if you were to sit down, you would realize that like you are way more of an expert than you realize. Even terms that like we talked about, like CRM, like people are like, what is a CRM? And you're like, things that you take for granted that other people have no idea what it is and are so grateful for you to break it down.
Totally. Now tell me, okay, because right now I'm going to work with a couple more creators like you, again, so I can kick my own tires on my product and go, hey, does this work? Does this not work? Mm-hmm. This is not this is a weird question, but what was it like working with me?
Well, you know that I'm like madly in love with you.
I know, but and again, I it's an awkward question, but like, what was that process like?
So I love working with you, because you're a mentor. I feel like you pull the good out of people that they don't even know is there. And so that is like the greatest gift, that people would be so blessed to have the time to sit and work with you. And you really take it down and say, this is what's most important. And I really appreciated that. It's like, these are like, do 3 things. Because if I had shared with you before, I do some coaching through a business locally, and they had asked me to do a masterclass. And I said, absolutely not. And I had them cross that out of my contract. And then after I did this, I did a similar presentation for brands to say, how do brands work with influencers? So just reversing it. And I said to the gentleman, okay, I'm ready to do the masterclass now. And he's like, you said you didn't want to do it. Like, what changed? I'm like, Jillian changed me. Like, you made me realize that it wasn't so overwhelming. Like, if you were just to not give anyone the steps, this is really, really, this would have taken me 6 months to a year just to do a 1 hour, because I would have been searching for templates, and my template I found wouldn't have been good enough. And you really said, like, here, fill out these 2 forms. And then now we know that I have a subject that I could actually talk about, and you can go. So I think if somebody has the opportunity to work with you, they would be foolish to say no, and they will realize how much they know. And that's like the greatest gift to walk away with, right? Like, it really is such a confidence booster. So
I have to thank you. I am so touched and honored that you said that. And I want to work with a couple more of you for free to help you set up either a paid workshop or an easy membership. So definitely reach out. Now, the one thing I will say that I will leave with and feel so good about is you telling me that you are more confident as an entrepreneur today than you were 3 months ago. And I want to say, whatever higher power you believe in, weirdly, it was good that you lost your Instagram and you got it back, but it kind of shook you up and got you uncomfortable and scared in your business where you had gotten comfortable.
100%. Yeah, no, I think it was, you and I talked about a lot. It would end up to be the greatest gift ever. And those 5 days, I would not have told you it was the greatest gift ever. You think that a global pandemic and brands, even like Clorox, who was one of my clients, saying, oh, we have no products, so we can't pay you the contract that we have with you, right? Like you would have thought that a global pandemic would have made me realize that it's scary to have a majority of your income come from brand work, but it didn't. Somehow I just charged on through. And so I am, like you said, I'm super, super grateful because I would have never explored this avenue. And I love it. I'm so grateful for you because I feel like it's really reinvigorated me for my business where, Instagram can make you down. These algorithms can make you sad. And that sounds so silly. Like,
no.
I know people say you're not supposed to do it for the likes, but you're not doing it for the likes. You're doing it for your
business. You're doing it for your business. You're putting food on your table. Like it isn't because you want people to just, love your outfit. It's because it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And
because engagement is everything, right? For a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not about me being liked, but yeah. So it has just been such an incredible experience. And I'm so grateful for you.
All right, Christy, if people want to reach out to you and connect with you and learn about your next, I will put in the show notes a link to your next workshop and your membership.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But if people want to reach out to you because they've got a question about working with brands or about doing a paid workshop, how can they do it? What should they do?
Of course. So my blog is Happy Family Blog. So I'm happyfamilyblog.com. And then I'm Happy Family Blog across all social channels. I'm on Instagram a majority of the day. So that's generally the best place to find me. But you can find me on Twitter, on Pinterest, on Facebook, any of those. And my email is Christy@happyfamilyblog.com. I'd be happy to answer any emails. Like I said, I'm just loving being able to teach people like the secret sauce of working with brands. And so I'm here. If you ever have any questions, I'm pretty much an open book because I really do. I want all of us to be wildly successful because I think that only raises everything for all of us. And then brands will want to pay us more and more money. I don't want people to be working for free anymore. Done, right? Done are the days of working for free.
I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir.
Right.
Well, Christy, can we check in again? Because I have it's really exciting for me just watching the light bulbs and watching you putting things into practice. So can we check in another couple months to see how your membership is going? We were talking about maybe you do some sort of mastermind, in-person mastermind in Florida with creators. Like who knows where this is going?
I would love that. Yeah. I mean, the sky is the limit, right? I'm super excited to see. I'm even starting to write more blog content on how to work with influencers and all of that. So I would love that. I can't wait to see where all of this takes me.
Awesome. Well, Christy, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
My intention with doing this episode was to inspire you. Hopefully some light bulbs went off in your head. And if you want to set up an easy paid workshop or a simple membership, I am working with people one-on-one right now. Again, testing MiloTree Easy Payments. I would love to work with you for free. Please email me at Jillian@milotree.com. We'll throw around some ideas. I'll get you set up so that you can start building this closer relationship with your audience and find a whole new way to build your business. So again, reach out to me at Jillian@milotree.com. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you want to check out MiloTree Easy Payments, the easiest way for female content creators to get paid directly from their audiences, head to milotree.com/easy payments. And remember, there's no monthly fee. We just take a small transaction fee based on your sales. So we only make money when you make money. So set up your account, set up a product, set up a free sales page. Let me know what you think, and I will see you here again next week.